Welcome to another edition of the Coastal Magic Concast podcast. Each edition is a compilation of the 5 daily features from my book blog, wrapped up into one fantastic author chat. You're seeing the video of this conversation during our 2022 virtual convention, and the audio version will magically become a podcast sometime in the future. Sarah Nicholas, aka Aria Kane, is someone I am thrilled to see every year at Coastal Magic, and I'm happy to have them with me tonight for this virtual Q&A. From the official bio, Sarah Nicholas is a recovering mechanical engineer, library event planner, and author who lives in Orlando with a 60-pound mutt who thinks he's a chihuahua and a gray fluffy cat who thinks she's a dog. Sarah writes YA novels as Sarah Nicholas and romance under the name Aria Kane. Sarah has published both traditionally and independently and is a literary agent at Tobias Literary Agency. Sarah is also the host and producer of Queries, Qualms, and Quirks. That is a lot.
That's not even like half of it.
I know it's not even like half of it, but wow, that is a lot.
Yeah.
Yes. So I am very happy to see you. I am sorry that we are not at the beach, but I am so happy to see you anyway.
Yeah. I was just thinking back to like some of the rainy coastal magics, and I was like, well, at least I'm not trying to walk, half a mile to lunch in the rain.
That is true.
But I do miss seeing everyone and hugging everyone and having beverages with everyone.
Yes. But next year,
yes.
We're holding on to hope that next year we are not in tiny little computer boxes. Next year we are in the sand by the beach doing fun things, all right next to each other's faces. That's the plan.
All right.
That's it. We're doing it. I said so. I'm the boss of these things.
Yeah.
All right. So I have stolen from myself. I stole all of my features from my book blog, and I'm okay with that. We had a discussion. It's totally cool. So conversation this evening is going to basically cover our week's worth of features. So Words of Music Monday, obviously, has to do with music. Top 10 list Tuesday, so we'll have a top 10 list. WW Wednesday gets to see what you have found online recently that caught your attention. Review Thursday, I know you read extensively, so I'm very looking forward to what you have read recently that you really liked. And then Author Chat Friday is basically just a peek into Sarah World. So let's start off with Words of Music Monday. Do you write with music for inspiration? Do your books have playlists? Do your characters have theme songs? How does music play into your writing, if at all?
It's funny that we're starting off with this because I'm currently recording at my sister's house, and the lullabies for my nieces are playing quite loudly, and so you might hear them if you have your volume up loud.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so I say this all the time, and like I'm kind of making fun of myself, but it's also true, but also I don't have a problem with it. I have trash taste in music, right? So like I love like poppy pop.
I don't think there is such thing.
I people would disagree with you.
Sometimes people are wrong.
Yeah. So I'm not a huge music person, obviously, but I do like to use music sometimes just to set the mood, right? Gotcha. So like if I need like a happier kind of feel for a scene, I will put on just some like dancey pop, right? If I need like a sad, somber, I will put on some like sad ballads, put on some Adele, some Sam Smith or something like that. In Keeping Her Secret, which was my last YA book to come out, an Adele song actually features like pretty heavily in the book. And one of the main characters is a ballet dancer and another one is a singer. So it's kind of related to their little subplot of like their camp talent show.
Right.
And yes, but also what I do with music when I'm writing is sometimes like when I'm at home and I live, with my family, my parents can't hear very well and their TV is very loud, even though I'm in like completely separate area. So I often will put on some kind of music that's just meant to drown out their TV. So it may be classical music on Google because I feel like that's the easiest thing. But also
Mhm.
I have a living room that's like separate from theirs. And so I'll put on the TV. There's all these things on YouTube that are like, they have little sounds and little kind of jazzy music or piano music or whatever. And then it has an illustration with it, just a very light level of animation. So maybe like steam coming off the coffee cup or rain dripping down the windows or something like that. And that helps me a lot, especially during this pandemic, to make me feel like I'm not just sitting at home for like the 100th day in a row, you
I
know?
have an entire playlist of those things. I have
Oh
like
yeah.
a jazz music in a coffee shop, and it has little coffee shop
Mhm.
sounds like the door opening and
Yeah.
closing and like steam happening. I've got one that's a beachside with
Mm.
little shops and people walking by. You can hear footsteps on cobblestone and things like that. I have some that are
Yeah.
in rain coming down in a forest. So yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah, I used to use ambient mixer a lot before I discovered these YouTube videos because I like the visual element too
Mhm.
that kind of takes me out of where I am. Especially
Cool.
because I before the pandemic, I used to write a lot outside, like
Mhm.
coffee shops, restaurants, libraries. And then obviously we couldn't do that for a long time. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's that's
The,
what I
the
do.
little coffee shop ones are fun because like I said, I like to hear, you hear the door open, the little bell for the door open and
Hmm.
close and the little footsteps the whole time the music's playing. I like those. I like them because there's not words. So I can work with
Yeah,
those and the words don't distract.
yeah, for sure.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. So moving on from Monday to Tuesday, we have our top 10 list. So that can be 10 things about you, 10 things about your writing, 10 things about a character, 10 things that make you smile, 10 things that surprised you, 10 places you've been, 10 foods you like. What 10 things are you sharing?
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about the 10 of my favorite things that I've cooked or baked in the past 2 years.
Okay.
And so if you're listening on audio, so I thought about doing a slideshow basically, but I was like, if people are listening on audio, then they will miss out on that. So um, you can just go to my Instagram if you want to see the pictures of any of these. But
I've
yeah, so
probably
you want me
seen
to just
most
like,
of these. I'm excited to see what your favorites
yeah,
are.
these are in no particular order because I didn't want to rank them, but you want to just dive in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so there's these cheddar bacon chive scones, and I love these so much. I make them often actually. And so it's just what it sounds like. You cook the bacon ahead of time, and so scones are kind of like, if you haven't had them before, they're kind of like a more crumbly, harder biscuit. And they're just so good for breakfast, and I love eating them for breakfast. And but when I make them, I eat too many of them.
Yeah, there was
Because
no
like you
part of
make
that that sounded bad to me at all.
yeah, you make like 8 of them and they only last like 3 or 4 days. Like you gotta eat a couple
Yeah,
a day.
can't let them go to waste.
Yeah. And then so number 2 is actually like a longtime favorite and probably the thing they like cook the most often. It's a Dijon salmon with a white wine leek cream sauce. I don't always make the cream sauce because obviously that's like a lot more work. But if you want to make this at home, like it's so good. Just put salt and pepper on salmon and then Dijon mustard, and that's it. Use an oven safe skillet, cook it on top of the skillet, wait till the skillet gets hot, cook it on each side for 1 or 2 minutes, and then put it in the oven at like, I think 350, 375, until you start seeing fat leaking out. So that's when salmon is done, when you start seeing the fat leaking out the side. And it's so good. I eat it with roasted vegetables. It's like my reset meal when I need something that's just like I've been eating too much carbs and everything. And
Right.
then if you want to be fancy, you can make the white wine leek cream sauce. Yeah,
Nice.
that's one of my go-tos.
We're gonna
I'll
we're
post.
gonna we're gonna post a link to your Instagram with this
Okay,
so that people can go back to see what the pictures look like and see
cool.
how you made it and all.
Yeah.
All right, so number
This is
three.
one that, yeah, this one I make often too is al pastor. So I make it in the slow cooker. So al pastor is funny because a lot of people don't realize this. They think of it as a Mexican food. It was actually Lebanese immigrants in Mexico who created al pastor with the local kind of meats and spices,
Mhm.
right? So it's like a Lebanese way of cooking, but with Mexican ingredients.
That's
Um,
cool.
Yeah. And so it's just like slow cooked pork in spices and tomatoes. So make an al pastor tacos with goat cheese, pineapple salsa, and avocado. And it's so good. It's like a little bit of a
Goodness.
fat bomb, but it also keeps you full because it has like the fat and the protein in it, you know?
Right.
Number 4, I have been obsessed with making the perfect bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich. I have it. It takes me like honestly like 40 minutes to make a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich at this point, but it's just like
Wow.
it's perfect the way. So I love the bacon crispy. Some good bread. I got this like garlic cheddar bread from a bakery. They're closed now, and I'm really sad because that was like the ideal. But and then
Well,
I
you
make
have to
an
learn how to
egg.
make it.
Oh gosh. Bread is so much work for what it is. But yeah, and then I make the egg a special way. And so I really like over medium eggs, which are
Mhm.
kind of hard to cook. And I
Gotcha.
learned this from, I think it was Alton Brown. I can't remember now who it was. But basically you put the egg in the skillet, you cook it like you normally would with some fat in there. And then once the bottom is cooked, you add water and cover it, and then it kind of like steams the top of the egg. So the top of the egg gets
Oh,
cooked, but not fully cooked. And also the bottom doesn't get like rubbery and overcooked. So just pro tip there. Yeah.
very cool.
And then cheesecake with a blueberry compote on top. Classic, right? I made it for a dinner party and I made it for my parents and my dad. Like, it's so funny because I was setting out all the stuff to make the cheesecake. My dad's like, "What are you making?" And I was like, "Cheesecake." Because, you have to have a water bath, you have to like let the
Mhm.
ingredients come to room temperature. And he's like, "I just make it out of the box. I just pour it out of the box." I'm like, "Oh my God." And then he had it and he was like, he's like, "I didn't realize cheesecake could taste like this. This is so good." And he asked me to make it all the time. He bought me a new pan because my old pan I had to throw away.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
Number
Yeah, I'm
6.
totally a box girl.
Yeah. Well, they all have soy in them, so I can't eat them. But number 6 is mini burgers with tostones as the buns. So tostones are flattened and double fried green plantains. And so they're
Interesting.
starchy if you haven't had them before, and crispy. And they're just like, it's so good. It's not something you can eat very often because again, it's like not healthy for you at all. But and then I usually will make like a little bit of a spicy mayo and tomatoes and some cheese and put that on there.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Number 7 is a chocolate dome cake filled with chocolate mousse and caramel. I made this for my sweetie on his birthday
I
this
saw
year.
that. It looked
Yeah,
really good.
it is a visually impressive, which I love desserts that are visually impressive, but it was also very good. So it was like a chocolate dome shell filled with chocolate mousse that I made from scratch, of course.
Mhm.
And caramel, I did not make that from scratch because caramel is hard to make from scratch, caramel sauce specifically. And but I did find a soy-free version. And then it had a layer of cake, and then it had I had caramel on the plate, and then you like slice it open and split it open, and you see all the layers. It's really good.
Mhm. It was beautiful.
Yeah. I also put edible glitter on top of it for the birthday. Number 8 is a lemon blueberry almond tea cake. I got this from Ottolenghi, who is really a brilliant chef who has a lot of cookbooks out, and he also has a master class if you're interested. And he's really good. But these are just like little cakes, and they're made with part almond flour, part real wheat flour,
Mhm.
and you can make them in like muffin tins, or if you have a tea cake pan or anything like that. They're really good.
Very nice.
Number 9 was a very complicated project I will probably never do again, but they were so good. I made
Uh-oh.
apple I made apple fritters from scratch once.
That doesn't sound very complicated.
It is. It's a lot of work. um, and also they're fried. I don't like to fry a lot because I don't like the way it makes the house smell. So that's part of it
Aw.
too. But they were so, so good. I was like so impressed with them. I was like, wow, these taste like real apple fritters. And then the 10th one is another kind of like go-to that I cook quite a bit whenever I have the time. It's a roasted shallot risotto with lemony zucchini. So you roast the shallots ahead of time until they're like nice and like sweet, onions get sweet when you roast them.
Right.
And then you make that risotto, of course, with the Parmesan and chicken stock, and then the zucchini, just like shave it or whatever. I like to cut really thin layers, and just cook it really quick, just enough for it to get like a little soft, and dress it with some lemon juice and salt and pepper and put that on top. Perfect. It's so good. It's so good. And the lemon zucchini is nice because the sharpness of the lemon and then the lightness of the zucchini like breaks up the heaviness of the risotto. So it's just like a perfect pairing.
You sound like you should have your own cooking show.
Sometimes I teach cooking classes at the library.
I know that. I know. You do it very well. You do it very well. And like I said, we're going to post the link to your Instagram so that people can go back through and see some of these things that you've made and check out some of the other stuff too, and see what they want to try to make themselves.
Yeah, my Instagram is not like an author's Instagram. Like it has my author name on it, but like it's just food and resin on there.
That works. Okay, so moving from Tuesday's top 10 list into Wednesday's WWW Wednesday. So that is a chance to talk about something that you saw online recently that caught your attention. Could be something that you thought was really funny or sweet, or taught you something, or made you go, or, was a cool research thing. So what have you seen recently online that stuck with you?
Yeah, so there are like three related things. Whenever you ask us ahead of time, like I thought of these three things that are kind of related. So one, I was talking with an editor a couple weeks ago in New York City, and she was talking about how she thought her apartment had bed bugs, but they weren't sure because they were only biting her and not her husband. So in New York City, if you don't know, bed bugs are a much more common problem than they are in a lot of other places. And to verify that they had bed bugs, they called in a bed bug sniffing beagle. Oh my gosh.
That is crazy pants.
So this beagle came in, alerted, was like, yeah, you have bed bugs, and was like, just like the cutest way to find out you have bed bugs, right? And then they got the place treated and they had it come back to verify that they were gone. And she said she felt kind of bad because he looked like sad that he didn't find it.
Aww.
She was like, I've never been so happy to disappoint a dog. And then the following week, it was so weird. We had a program at the library that was about what are they called? Dogs for disabled people. So like assistive dogs of many different kinds. And they basically just went over the different kinds of dogs, the different kind of tasks that they do and stuff. And they mentioned that you can get a dog to smell allergies. So if you have a really bad allergy, you can get a dog and train it to smell allergies and food, allergens and food, as long as they are capable of smelling it, right?
Right.
Like some allergies you can't smell.
That's interesting.
And yeah, and then I was like, oh, could I get one to smell mold? Because if no one knows, I have an anaphylactic allergy to mold, and it keeps getting worse, and it takes 2 years to train a dog, right? So I'm like, oh, by the time the dog will be trained, I'll really need it. But I couldn't find if they could smell mold. I was like, surely they can. Like, I feel like mold has a smell, right? But because if you search for allergen dogs, service dogs, it's peanuts. All anybody wants to talk about is peanuts. And then I tweeted about it, and someone sent me the dog smell. They have dogs that sniff out molds, like for construction purposes, like to find it in the house. And I was like, oh yeah, of course, like that makes sense. So yes, they can be trained to smell mold, but so still thinking about that possibility. And then the third thing was I was listening to this audiobook called The Joy of Sweat, and it talks about a lot. It was really fascinating. It sounds weird and gross, and it is a little weird and gross, but they were talking about some of the smells that can come out in your sweat when something is wrong with your body, right? So like the most common one is like, diabetics sometimes have that like sickly sweet smell, right? But they mentioned this woman who her husband got Parkinson's, and he was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and she's like, he started smelling different like 5 or 6 months ago. And she didn't really think about it. She just like noticed it and kind of moved on. And then she met with like a Parkinson's support group, and she's like, all these people have that same smell, like the smell that changed.
Right.
And then, so she's like, I think I can smell Parkinson's, right? Like I can smell some sort of marker.
Mm-hmm.
And so they just kind of did like an informal test. This is the last I heard about it anyway, because I remember hearing about it too online, where they had her smell shirts of 10 people, and
Mm-hmm.
5 of them had Parkinson's and 5 of them did not. And she successfully identified the 5 Parkinson's patients
Wow.
from the smell, and one more who was diagnosed 5 months later with Parkinson's.
Wow.
Yes. So now they're trying to isolate the smell, right?
Right.
So that they can either get, a machine that can smell it, or they could train dogs to
Train
smell
a
it.
dog to do it.
Which
Right.
I just like, can you imagine like going into your doctor's appointment and part of your doctor's appointment is like a dog coming up and smelling you?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
That would be
yeah.
a joy and also so very sad.
Yeah. It would be like, again, like the cutest way to find out that you have a disease.
Right.
And there are certain, they think that dogs can smell certain cancers.
Mm-hmm.
Dogs can sense like panic attacks and
Right.
seizures. They can sense seizures before they happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought it was like really interesting that these 3 things all kind of came together in like 2 weeks at a time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a pretty amazing feat to be able to do. Not only that they can do it, but that we have figured out that they can do it and can use that skill for something, So that's
Yeah.
really cool. And you're right, it is kind of odd that you would see all of those together in one time, but if they're figuring stuff out, I mean, yay for that.
Yeah.
All right, cool beans. So we'll move from the Internet Wednesday, we'll go into Thursday review day. So what have you read? Well, I know you listen to audiobooks a lot. So have you listened to an audiobook or read something recently that you really loved? Or do you have something, or maybe or do you have something coming up that you are looking forward to?
Yeah, both.
I'll take it.
So I just finished The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which I know like a lot of people have read
Mm-hmm.
before. And I do this thing where like every year I kind of evaluate like what are some big books that I missed the last year or two, and I try to listen to some of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was one of them that kind of came under that. And it was really good. Sometimes you hear about a book a lot and then you read it and you're like, oh, why is everyone so obsessed with this book?
Right.
But no, this book was really good. It had like the writing itself was beautiful, but also just had kind of a unique story and a unique twist to some different tropes that we've all become familiar with. It's adult fantasy, speculative fiction, maybe I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that was really good. I listened to the audiobook, of course, and the audiobook was really good.
Right.
And then the second one is Like a Sister by Kelly Garrett that I listened to
Mhm.
maybe a month or two ago, but it comes out on March 8th, I think. Don't quote me on that, but it comes out soon.
Right.
And so that's a mystery, and it's about a girl who, a woman, I guess I should say, she is the daughter of a music mogul, and she has kind of been estranged from him. And his other daughter, they had a pretty good relationship. They stayed in touch and everything. And she was a reality TV star as well. And she ends up dead, kind of near the main character's apartment. And she learns about it from a newspaper headline. And she finds out, some other things from her Instagram. And everyone thinks that she died from an accidental overdose from injecting drugs. And the main character knows that her sister is terrified of needles. And so she's like, this doesn't make any sense. So she
Mm-hmm.
starts investigating it. It's another amateur detective mystery from Kelly Garrett. It's a little more serious than Hollywood Homicide, which was her previous series, but it still has a lot of that humor that
Mm-hmm.
Kelly is known for.
Right.
And the audiobook is read by Bonnie Turpin. And if you listen to audiobooks, like, Bonnie Turpin, because she's incredible. She's one of my favorite narrators. And it's funny too, just a little side note, a little insider knowledge. Kelly Garrett wrote for Cold Case for one season, the TV show.
Oh, interesting.
Bonnie Turpin was a regular on Cold Case,
Oh my gosh,
but
that's great.
not at the same time. And so it's just a coincidence.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's funny. It's weird how stuff like that comes together.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of coincidences
Yeah.
in this episode. I read an incredible manuscript, but I can't tell you about that because it's not published
You
yet.
can't tell me about that, which is very, very, very not nice, but that's okay because I understand. It's a
Ask
job
me in
thing.
like
I
3
get
years.
it. Ask me in 3 years.
Yeah.
All right. So, anything else coming up soon that you are looking for? No, that's the Kelly Garrett book is coming out soon that you're looking forward to because you've already read that. Is there anything coming out that you haven't read yet that you're looking forward to reading?
Oh man, put me on the spot. I'm trying to think. My mind just went blank. I don't know any books ever.
That's okay. We'll talk about it later. We'll add it in.
Okay.
We'll add in a link after the fact. Okay, so we'll move from Thursday reviews into Friday author chat, and that is all things happening in Sarah World. So anything you may have had released recently or anything you've got going on. Now you've got the podcast happening, anything you've got coming up like later this year. What is happening in your world? I know you've had a lot of stuff. You've been very busy the last couple of months. You had a lot of stuff going on. So kind of give us a rundown for people who may not be as familiar.
Okay, yeah, sure. So I have the podcast Queries, Qualms, and Quirks. It's a weekly podcast. The target audience is aspiring writers and querying writers. And so every week features a published author and they talk about their journey to publication and they also read their successful query letter. So if you are interested in writing and publishing, check that out. I also have a project. I'm not sure exactly when it's going to launch. I'm waiting to hear on some funding for it. But it's tentatively titled A No Nonsense Guide to Publishing. And it's going to be just kind of a very straightforward explanation of like a lot of things that you need to know about traditional publishing, focusing on traditional publishing. There's going to be a little indie publishing stuff in there too, but the focus is on self, and it's meant to be just like really bare bones, like no chatting, no fluff. It's going to be just like the things you need to know, get in, get out,
Right.
And trying to explain them as clearly as possible. So
very cool.
Look out for that. I don't know when that's going to be. And then let's see, if you're in the Orlando area, we have the Orlando Book Festival at the library on April 30th. This is an exclusive. We haven't announced this yet, but Tim Dorsey is going to be our keynote. So if you're
Who is?
Tim Dorsey.
Oh my gosh, that is going to be fun.
Yeah, he's really great. It's going to be kind of a pared down version from previous years because we didn't want to do the full thing.
Right.
Put 100 people in a room and everything. So it is going to be kind of a smaller event than in previous years, but it's still going to be really fun. Yeah. And then I think that's it. I mean, I'll be, around Coastal Magic this weekend. And
yes. Absolutely.
I'll be at the meetup on Saturday if you're local.
Yeah.
And my significant other will be there too.
Yay! Very cool, very cool. All right. So if people want to find out what is happening with you, things that you have published, things you have going on, where is a good place for them to look?
Yeah. So, I do want to talk because we were talking about releases. So I was supposed to have the second book in the company series released by this.
I was hoping you would mention it and you didn't, and I didn't want to say anything.
Sorry. So basically what happened is I got a second full-time job and then it didn't happen. So I'm working full-time as a literary agent as well as an event planner. And it's just like, and then plus the other things I do, it just like did not happen. But it's like slowly coming along, but it's not out yet. And then, so if you want to find more about me online, so if you want to find out more about Sarah Nicholas or Queries, Qualms, and Quirks, you can go to sarahnicholas.com, and that's Sarah with an H and Nicholas with no H. If you can, my romance is ariakane.com. It's not a very maintained website though, so just a heads up on that. And then if you're interested in finding more about me as a literary agent, if you're interested in maybe querying me, you can go to sarahnfisk.com, and that is again Sarah with an H. And I'm mainly most active on Twitter at Sarah_Nicholas. And if you want to see the things that I cook and the resin that I make, you can find me on President Sarah on Instagram.
Which will be linked underneath this video for everybody
Awesome.
to go check out all the food.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you very much for spending a little time and chatting some chats with me. I appreciate it. And I am excited to see your face soon. And I will be even more excited to see your face next year by the beach instead of in the little computer box.
Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you, Jen. Thanks for having me on the cast and also at Coastal Magic and all the hard work you put into it every year. Always a fun time.
I appreciate it. Thank you. We will see you doing some other panels during the weekend. People can find that at the website, the coastalmagicconvention.com website. And I will talk to you again soon. Thank you so much. Bye, y'all.